You ever hear someone yell, "Your property ends where I say it ends," at you in broad daylight while you're holding nothing more threatening than a coffee mug? Yeah, that happened. The HOA president, Celeste Harrington, her name's probably on half the no trespassing signs in the county, stood there with a folder of legal papers and that weird tight-lipped lawyer smile like she was about to auction off my dignity to the highest bidder. You know the type. Power and a pantsuit confidence measured in notarized pages. What she didn't know as she tried to box me in with her boundary markers was that I'd spent 3 decades as an investigative journalist digging up land scams just like the one she was running. She also didn't know her lakefront McMansion sat on land she'd snatched through forged surveys and good old-fashioned fraud. Yeah. Welcome to retirement, right? That morning, the lake was so still it was like time had pressed pause just for me. The fog rolled off the water tulips Nora planted 5 years back, nodding in the breeze. I still catch myself looking for her in the garden sometimes. 3 years gone, and I'd just started learning how to live with the ache instead of letting it drown me. This was supposed to be our forever spot, the lake her grandparents left her, the place where summers would stretch long and lazy. Instead, it became my refuge, my patch of quiet, right up until the black Mercedes showed up. The SUV didn't even try to be subtle engine humming with that smug, "you can't afford my tires" kind of sound. 2 guys in matching suits straight out of Central Casting hopped out and didn't even nod at me. One with a laser rangefinder, the other snapping photos of my dock, my old pines, even the tire ruts from last week's rain. They moved like they were on a schedule, my schedule apparently. I sipped my coffee and watched the old reporting instincts humming. If you ever see someone acting official but not actually talking to you, start taking notes. 15 minutes and they were gone, the Mercedes purring away, leaving a whiff of expensive cologne and paperwork. On the door I caught a logo, Harrington and Associates Real Estate Law. Sounded like something out of a bad drama. I made a note on my phone, time, date, firm, couldn't help myself. Old habits. That afternoon, Mrs. Gilmore dropped by with an apple pie. She's the kind of neighbor you hope for 79 sharper than she lets on and still remembers every dog that's ever lived on our street. She handed me the dish, her hands shaking a bit. We sat in the kitchen. She got that look like she's about to tell you a secret you should already know. "The HOA's not what it was," she murmured. "You gotta be careful, Graham. The Hendersons got fined 15 grand for painting their house a shade too light. Same color it's been since 1980. I frowned. Wasn't even sure my property was in the HOA. My deed dated back to 52. "Doesn't matter much anymore," she said. "That woman running it now, she stretched her house halfway to the water, but everyone else is breaking the rules." She glanced at the window just in case. 3 families by the lake moved out since Nora passed. Couldn't keep up the fight. After she left, I started a fresh doc on my laptop, its simple timeline, just like I used to prep for stories. Pulled out the deed. According to everything official, my property ran to the water's edge. The county GIS map didn't agree. Now my dock was magically part of common lake access. Not by much, 15 feet maybe, but enough for a fight. I told myself it was just some clerk's mistake. But when you've spent your life spotting patterns, your gut doesn't let go. I pulled records, recent disputes, amended bylaws. Couldn't sleep that night. I kept replaying those 2 guys mapping out my shore like they were gathering evidence for a case I didn't know I was part of. Made myself some tea, stood by the window. Moonlight turned the lake silver. I could almost hear Nora teasing me for letting anything slide. Next morning, a white envelope waited in my mailbox. No stamp, no return address, just my name in block letters. I knew what it was before I opened it. Official letterhead, Lakeside Estates Homeowners Association. Notice of boundary violation. They wanted my dock built in 1987, 8 years before the HOA existed, gone in 30 days or else. $500 a day in penalties if I didn't comply. Celeste Harrington, President, Esquire. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so nakedly petty. I dug into the bylaws. Sure enough, Section 12.3, the one they cited, was all about maintaining community aesthetic standards and common access, but nothing about old structures predating the HOA. I sent a polite, factual email asking for clarification. Instant auto reply. Your concern has been noted and will be addressed in due course. No number to call, no office hours. I called the main line anyway. Straight to voicemail. Left messages, nothing. For 3 days, silence. Day 4, I headed to the county recorder's office. If you've never been, picture the smell of moldy paper and the sound of old computers humming. The clerk wasn't thrilled to see me, but she dug up my deed, the 1987 survey, and every bylaw amendment since 1995. I snapped photos of everything, piecing together my case. The records were clear. My dock was legal right up until a 2018 amendment that shrunk every lakeside lot. The kicker: the so-called common lake access wasn't in the original 1995 bylaws. It appeared in 2018, the same year Celeste became president. Here's where the plot thickens to pass any amendment that changes property rights. HOA bylaws require 75% approval. Only 67 out of 149 homeowners voted for the new boundary, not even half. I'd seen enough. This wasn't bureaucracy, it was fraud. A few days later, a second envelope landed in my mailbox. Final warning, pending legal action, now accusing me of unauthorized landscaping in a protected wetland zone. That came with a bill for $12,000. The intimidation was textbook. Stack on more charges, scare the target into paying up. I started plotting. Pulled up aerials of the neighborhood, mapped every family Mrs. Gilmore had mentioned. Each violation pinned along the lake, every property between Celeste's mansion and open water. She was clearing her view, one homeowner at a time. I decided to pay her a visit. Her house was a showpiece, white columns, fresh paint, a new deck stretching nearly to the lake, no violations in sight. She answered the door in a charcoal suit, cold as ice when she saw me. "I assume you've received our correspondence," she said, smooth as silk. "I'd like to discuss the boundary issue. The dock predates the HOA, and your amendment doesn't have the votes." Her smile tightened. "The law is the law, Mr. Whitmore. The HOA manages common areas under its governing documents. If you have concerns, I suggest legal counsel." She turned to close the door, but I pressed on. "Your new deck is 12 meters past your original line. Should I expect a notice?" For a second, her face flickered, just a crack in the armor. "That's private property, Mr. Whitmore. Be careful with accusations." Door clicked shut. I stood on her porch and realized she truly believed she was untouchable. But I've seen that before. It never lasts. That night, I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by maps, deeds, and emails. By dawn, I knew I needed backup. Nora always said I was relentless when I caught the scent of injustice. She was right. This wasn't about my dock anymore. Mrs. Gilmore tipped me off to a young lawyer who'd once fought the HOA and lost. I found him downtown, looked half my age, office decorated in thrift store chic. He was skeptical until I laid out the evidence, original deed maps, voting records, and a damning email from a board member. "We need to secure those waterfront parcels before prices spike." His eyes widened. "This isn't just a boundary issue," he said, "it's systematic fraud." We split up. He'd handle the legal filings, I'd find other victims. Mrs. Gilmore dug out photos, picnics from the 80s, fence lines clear as day. Her grandson, smart kid, drone hobbyist, offered to do a full aerial mapping. In 24 hours, I had footage that showed the truth, every violation, every property shrunk, all lining up to maximize Celeste's view. Her mansion had eaten more shoreline in 5 years than erosion had in 50. A twist came from a former board member who tracked me down. He'd resigned after Celeste threatened to sue him if he didn't back her amendment. Showed me emails proving vote totals were faked, dissenting voices scrubbed from the records. He was scared but agreed to testify if I could make this stick. With evidence piling up, we had a choice: go straight to court or go public first. We planned a community barbecue, neighborhood event, burgers and lemonade, then set up a projector and aired the receipts. 60 neighbors showed, plus a few families who'd been driven out. As the evidence rolled, deeds, drone footage, Mrs. Gilmore's story, the twist about the vote fraud, you could feel the mood shift. Anger, then focus. We streamed it to the neighborhood group. 400 people tuned in. Of course, the black Mercedes pulled up midway. Celeste showed up wrapped in professionalism. "This is a regrettable misunderstanding," she began, voice echoing across the lawn. My lawyer stood and, with half the neighborhood watching, read out the real vote count. "You're 45 votes short, Celeste. The amendment's invalid. Every violation since 2018, fraudulent. Phones came out, neighbors checked our evidence online, and suddenly Celeste didn't look so untouchable. Someone shouted about her deck. Someone else asked why her expansions never got flagged. The narrative flipped right there. By sundown, 80% of the homeowners signed a petition for an audit and her suspension. 3 weeks later, we filed suit fraudulent boundary alteration abuse of HOA authority, asking the court to throw out the amendment, restore our properties, and permanently remove her from office. The trial was brutal. Her defense tried to spin it as bureaucratic confusion. Our side, just the facts. Original surveys, photos, drone footage, emails. Mrs. Gilmore testified her memory was too good to ignore, as the judge put it. The kid's drone video nailed the pattern. When Celeste took the stand, her calm cracked under cross-examination. The judge, no nonsense, ruled the amendment invalid, boundaries restored $280,000 in damages, and a permanent ban from HOA leadership. Prosecutors moved on the criminal forgery charges. Celeste's law career, over. I wish I could say I felt triumph. What I felt mostly was relief, a kind of peace that comes when you realize you're not powerless. The neighborhood changed after that. The new board rewrote the rules, made every vote public, banned sneaky amendments. Other communities copied our reforms. The families who'd left started coming back. The place felt alive again. I got my check, 25 grand. It would have been easy to stash it away, but I kept thinking about Nora. She always said beautiful places should be shared, not hoarded. So I turned the dock into Nora's Lakefront Commons. We built ramps, picnic tables, a wildflower garden. Mrs. Gilmore taught kids about herbs. Her grandson set up Wi-Fi. The lawyer helped lock it in as a trust. No one could ever privatize it again. On opening day, 200 people showed up, eating, laughing, swinging on the old rope swing. I kept my speech short. Nora believed the best things should be shared. This place is for everyone now. That's justice. People clapped, but it was the sight of neighbors together, Mrs. Gilmore teaching kids to spot chamomile, that mattered. That night, sitting on the dock, I remembered Nora's last words, "Don't let them make you small." That's the fight, isn't it? Not against people, but against the urge to shrink away from what's right. So what do you think? Where's the line between law and justice, between right and just getting your way? Tell me below, ever been up against an HOA nightmare, or maybe you were the hero who helped your community take back what was theirs? Let's talk about it.